Hello. Yeah. Welcome. It's been a while. It's been a really long time. Yes, I know. I apologize for all those long periods of silence. Life has been busy. We bless God for it. So, yes, straight to the topic of today, we'll be discussing self help tips for coping with depression. Self help tips, as in what you can do for yourself, assuming that such an individual is undergoing therapy or counseling with or without medications prescribed by medical personnel. So we'll go to what you can do for yourself now. I will start with mindfulness. What do I mean by mindfulness? It means paying attention without judgment, paying attention to your thoughts, to your feelings, to your emotions, and just being aware that something is going on without judging it. Because many times thoughts occupy our heads without us being aware of it. We'll just feel the emotions without being aware that the emotion was caused by a thought. Now, many people will say they can't really control their thought. Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. Regardless of what you're thinking, I'll tell you something. You just think about it. In a week time, Nigerian naira will be 500 naira to $1. Did you think about it? I bet you did. Did I control your thought? You chose to think about that. The same way we can also be intentional about giving space to what we allow in our head or not. You know that saying of whatever you feed grows. You can choose to feed faith or feed fear. If I leave the forest, so to say, if I leave the plane of my mind bare, unguarded, you can be sure that a lot of negative thoughts will take root there. Coupled with many of us have had this negative programming from childhood, the critical mindset that was instilled in us by parents who will judge all of your moves, all of your motives. So even long after the individual is not at home dependent on the parent, there's still that father's voice that still keeps ringing, feeding the individual with unhappiness, uncertainty about their own sense of worth, their sense of identity, and the likes. You can switch to turn such thoughts, such narratives off, but it takes a process of becoming mindful that they are even there without judging them, then taking the next step of switching them. Just pass it, let it go. You can't sit here now, let it go. That's what I mean by mindfulness. But what are some more structured way we can engage in mindfulness? The first one is mindful meditation. For the Christians, you would have heard Christian meditation, which is a biblical meditation that requires you to pick a Bible verse, pray about it, reflect on it, and the likes. And I want to believe there will be something like that for the Muslims. Now, mindful meditation, what it involves is finding a quiet place and being intentional about focusing on what comes into your mind that time without staying on that particular thought. If you are in a quiet place, being aware of the sensations in your body, all the five senses, you're aware of what you can smell, what you can see, what you can feel, and what thought comes to your mind. And you just let those thoughts pass. As they come, you let them pass. As they come, you let them pass. For somebody who has depression, it's said that 10 to 30 minutes of mindful meditation daily goes a long way in improving their mental health. Now, the same way you'll be told that you exercise daily for the rest of your life to stay healthy. Mindful meditation also has to be a daily practice for the rest of an individual life if the person wants to stay mentally fit. So that's the first thing I would recommend. Now, there are other informal ways of being mindful. You're walking and you're paying attention to each of your footsteps. As you take the right foot, you're aware you've taken the right foot. You've taken the left foot, you're aware you've taken the left foot. Not that you're just on autopilot and you arrive at the destination, you can't really remember how you got from your house to your destination. Mindfulness can be incorporated into the act of walking, can be incorporated into the act of even going from, supposing you have to go across several doors, you can choose that, okay, I'll be mindful of when I get to each door. I won't just pass doors and be unaware, because many times we're very unaware in our lives. So those are informal ways of incorporating mindfulness into our lives. For someone who is interested, you can go to YouTube, you'll find so many recommendations on guided meditation. Basic thing you will need is a phone and some earpiece. Listen to it and watch and let someone guide you through. After which you can pick it up yourself once you've understood how it goes. The other thing I would recommend is journaling. What do I mean by journaling? Simple terms: writing your thoughts, writing your dreams, writing your visions, writing your plans, writing your emotions, and the likes. Now, for someone who is battling with depression, journaling will include or would involve intentionally writing out your thoughts and your feelings without judging them. Without judging them, it is not I feel like this, why do I feel like this, I shouldn't feel like this, and all of those things. Okay, there's sadness within me now. I am worried about so and so, and every other thing that you need to flesh it up. Now, what this does is, one, it takes the mental burden from the head and puts it on paper. From every journaling session, you come back feeling lighter. The issue may not have been resolved, but I tell you, you'll feel a whole lot better. And sometimes you may get constructive in the process of writing. Because when you think, you can think up 200 thoughts in 10 minutes. You can't write more than one constructive frame of thoughts in 5 minutes. So it again slows down the voracious thoughts that the average depressed individual has and helps to cone it down to one important thing, while also releasing something called relaxation hormones, so to say, in quotes. Relaxation hormones, if you have serotonin released, you feel calmer after. So while there is a stress response from overthinking, from worrying about things you cannot control, there's a relaxation response that comes from being mindful, from mindful meditation, from journaling, just intentionally choosing to slow down the pace of life by journaling, the pace of life by learning to sit still for a couple of minutes, the pace of life again by deep breathing, mindful deep breathing. So that's the first thing I recommend as a self-help tip for somebody who is battling depression. Now the second one is staying active. Anybody who has struggled with depression before knows one major challenge is staying active. Either they just want to sleep all day, scroll through social media, listen to depressing music, they don't want to go out, they don't want to visit friends, they don't want to receive visitors, they don't want to pick calls, they don't want to reply messages and the likes. So staying active is like doing the opposite of what the depressed body wants. Again, we said whatever you feed grows. If you feed inactivity and depression, you just allow it to get bigger. If you choose to push yourself in the negative direction, just a little bit at a time, what would that look like practically? That would be waking up, getting dressed, eating with or without an appetite, as little as you can, and showing up at work or at school. You've heard of that saying of whatever happens, get up, get dressed, show up. I think it should be a mantra that every depressed individual should go by. That you will show up. Feeling sad, you will show up. Feeling happy, you will show up. You understand? So then again, that would also include exercise, incorporating exercise into the daily activities. That could be simple things like walking or jogging, or more structured form of exercise like enrolling in a gym. Now, exercise releases 3 notable hormones. Dopamine is a feel-good hormone. It makes you feel good, excited. All those wonderful feelings of when you've just won a jackpot, if you've ever won one. And if you haven't, when you just had a very good result, there's no feeling that beats that. So exercise releases that hormone, which also gives you all those emotions. They also release serotonin. Serotonin helps you to calm down, helps you to sleep. Release adrenaline, helps you, charges you up with energy. So intentional exercise in as little ways as little as jogging, as little as choosing to trek rather than take a motorbike or driving to work, are ways where we can incorporate exercise into our daily activities. That will help a depressed person to feel better. Then, of course, social engagement. Now, social engagement will require wisdom because it could also be a means of escaping from real life, whereby people go for parties. They just live for the party. They just live for the party so they can escape the reality of their life. That's not what I mean. If you're someone who used to go for people's naming ceremony, weddings, or those who were close to you, and now you find that with depression, you're sending no to every RSVP. It's a good time to begin to incorporate them little by little, even if it's once a month. Social engagements that you know will make you feel good. If you used to go out with friends to eateries to eat and chill out, that's also something I would recommend that such an individual incorporate back into their day. Be intentional about just putting positive things there. Then the third thing I would say is establishing good sleep routine. One major challenge for depressed individuals is their sleep patterns get thrown out of the window. Either they're not sleeping at all, or they're sleeping too much, or the biological rhythm gets shifted. They sleep very late, wake up very late. One way to establish structured sleep routine is set an alarm for when you sleep and when you wake up and stick by it. If it is go to bed 8 o'clock, regardless of whatever you may be doing, drop it and go to the bed. If you have to wake up 4 o'clock, once the alarm goes off, even if you slept 3 hours, get up. Now, what does this do? How does it help? One is that the biological clock that has been twitched, I don't want to use the word broken, but the biological rhythm that has been altered by the state of depression, you are beginning to reset it in a way. If you give your body the permission of sleep as much as you want, we can wake up 10 o'clock, we can wake up 2 o'clock, we can wake up 1 o'clock, or we may never get out of the bed. You're just reinforcing that cycle of depression. The body never really gets to know that, okay, this time we do this. But if you can be consistent about sticking to that structured sleep routine, after a while, even your biological clock knows that we don't sleep now, we're not sleeping again. So it resets things. Then the added benefit is good sleep, again, release all of the positive hormones. The positive neurotransmitters relaxes the individual's appetite is optimal, the head feels cool and the likes. So sleeping well is a positive for the depressed. The recommended time, which is about 7 to 8 hours for an adult, not sleeping 12 hours, which in this case now is an excess. Then the other one I recommend now is before bed is to do a brain dump. What do I mean by brain dump? One of the challenges that depressed individuals have is they have thoughts occupying their mind even when they're trying to sleep. The sleep is not coming through. So a brain dump is like you're reflecting on all that happened that day and you choose to constructively write it down. Like, okay, every thought in my head, I put it on paper. Then if for those who are planners and who will spend the night planning about what they will do tomorrow or how they can take care of some issues that needs to be addressed, plan it on paper. So that way you have a structure written down. You don't need to bother your head ruminating about it overnight. So a brain dump just before going to bed at night, when the individual is taking care of the night routine, is a wonderful addition to establishing a structured sleep routine. Then another thing is the truth is some people who suffer from depression also abuse alcohol, drugs, sometimes prescription pills, sleeping pills, oftentimes, and sometimes it is recreational drugs. Many times it's counterintuitive though. It's the depressed state that drives them to these drugs with the hope that it can help them escape. Maybe they're not sleeping, it can help them sleep. They're feeling so sad, it can lift their mood just for a couple of hours. And really, like I said, it's just at best for a couple of hours. Now, it just sets the individual in a vicious cycle. What do I mean? He or she is down, then shoot a pill like or a drug like, say we say cocaine. Cocaine is a stimulant, shoots the mood high, all the positive hormones, dopamine is released, they feel wonderful. But the high is beyond the high of normal. So when it shoots the individual high so much, the body has consumed so much dopamine that by the time it drops the individual is a flat, lower than any low. It takes the body a while before it can recruit that amount of dopamine naturally. So they depend on those drugs to feel good. And before you know, you have a pattern of addiction where if they don't take the drug, life is not worth living. Where an individual would rather choose death than choose the feeling of depression or not be able to take their drugs of abuse, so to say. So somebody who battles depression and is using hard alcohol, drugs, prescription pills to medicate is a double-edged sword. It's like a self-harm. The advice will be to stop such drugs. If it's impossible or difficult to stop alone and you feel you need help, seek out somebody who is skilled in helping people quit addictions. That could be a counselor, that could be a therapist, and the likes. Then, of course, good eating habits. We've all heard of that saying that you are what you eat. In essence, you're what you eat. And many times the depressed individual, the easiest thing, and many times the default is junks, soft drinks, because there's no energy to cook or there is no appetite. But the truth is, even the act of going out to procure groceries, to prepare healthy meals, you've already come in contact with people, you've communicated with people, you've engaged in social activities. The act of preparing food is a bit of exercise. And it also messages your mind that, okay, I'm taking care of me. Is a wonderful self-esteem booster. So that's one thing I would recommend. Then not to now talk of the nutritional benefits of those healthy meals. So healthy, good eating habits is something I would recommend. Good eating habits would also include not eating in between meals, like eating for emotional eating, so to say. There are those who are so unhappy that they eat to feel happy. That again could also be food related addiction. Eat only when you're hungry. The plan should be to eat the 3 regular meals, preferably homemade, organic, homegrown, farm grown, so to say. And it is those 3: breakfast, lunch, dinner. No continuous snacking even when you're not hungry, after which you do, even if you're eating because you're hungry, you're eating to feel happy. That's another thing. Then the last 2 I would mention is music and social media. What do I mean by this? Most people who suffer from depression are people who are sensitive to music, who are artistic, who are musically inclined, who love music. That's the truth. So, and the truth is, in a bid to feel better, they listen to songs that mirror their mood. You're not happy, you look for a song that talks about depression and happiness. You're just reinforcing the cycle of depression. Remember we said your thoughts precede your emotions. Then your emotions can fuel the thoughts further and the emotion get bigger, so it's a vicious cycle. So there's someone who baseline is already unhappy, then puts in depressing songs. The cycle just keeps getting worse. You're more depressed, you want to listen to more depressing songs, hoping that this person gets your feelings. This person really understands me on this depth, and the cycle just continues. Now, for somebody who listens to music who is suffering from depression, be intentional about your choice of music. Let it be positive, uplifting one that will fill your mind, fill your spirit, fill your soul. I'm not talking spiritual. I'm talking a song that gives you hope. If you're unhappy, would you want to go and visit a friend who would also tell you of how unhappy they are? Both of you are just in a throw of woes. You would rather want to visit a friend who you are sure can uplift your mood. The same is for music. Now, social media is both good and bad, depending on what you make of it or what you use it for. What do I mean by that? Social media could be both a trigger for depression and also a means of escape. Escape, not healing. Escape. It could be a means of healing if you learn some self-help tips like this. This is a means of healing because we're learning from it. But the trigger, what do I mean by the trigger? Somebody who already has background and personality issues, impaired sense of esteem, is an overthinker, is perfectionistic, and then life happens. And they now spend hours watching other people and wondering why their own life is not measuring up. That's a trigger for depression. Because when you watch people put up their life on social media, those are the photoshopped versions of their life, not really the real life. When you get 360-degree view, you really may not take the stand you take. But such an individual, after hours and days of ruminating over another person's life, and you're comparing, comparison, they say, is the thief of joy. Person sinks into depression. That's what I mean by it can be a trigger. How can it be a means of escape? The depressed individual who is not going out, who is not entertaining friends, who is not picking calls, who is not replying to messages, now watch social media as a means of escape. Let me just feel good for this couple of hours. Really, you will feel good. But when you're done and you log off, you sink worse than before you even went to the social media. So somebody who battles with, who is struggling with depression, is on medications, counseling, I hope, and wondering what do I do with social media, is to be intentional about, okay, this place I'm going, this site I'm going to, what am I hoping to get from it? Is it going to uplift my mood or not? Is it going to make me better or not? Is it going to add to me or not? Again, which is the mindfulness I talked about. Even being mindful about decisions. As little as this channel I want to watch, TikTok, Instagram and the likes. Why am I going there? What will it benefit me? So by and large, I think summarily, that's all I have to share for someone who battles depression. I hope you'll find this helpful. I hope your life gets better. I hope the mood lifts. So until next time, I wish you a wonderful time. Please stay safe. Bye. Love.